Oh, this is awesome. I would never, ever live in this, but it's awesome for you.
Mary's whiny indecisiveness. I'm doing another rewatch and just saw the scene in season 4 where Mary and Kody are in Mexico. Kody asks if she wants to consider infertility treatments to have another child. As someone who has experienced infertility, I understand the sensitivity and raw emotion of this topic. However, what strikes me is Mary's whining, crying, and saying, "It's just stupid. This is just stupid." Kody asks what she means, and she responds with a middle schooler's whine. "I just don't know what I want." I've noticed this is a recurring theme with Mary. She also couldn't decide where to build her house on Coyote Pass, which turned into a significant issue. And when she does know what she wants, she won't clearly articulate it to the family. Instead, she sits back and lets others decide, avoiding the vulnerability of speaking her truth. I believe Mary is severely emotionally repressed and immature. As someone raised by emotionally immature parents, I wonder if Leon suffers any effects from being raised by Mary, who is emotionally immature, and Kody, who is definitely emotionally immature, possibly narcissistic, and certainly an asshat. TLDR, Mary is annoying AF. I think this stems from the cult element in their lives. There's a whole set of beliefs that you have to use to control and police your thoughts and demonstrate that in the community. Clearly, Mary is a strong, capable woman in areas deemed appropriate for those skills, like loading moving trucks or organizing tasks. No indecisiveness there. I think Mary gets lost in certain areas because the programming clashes with her internal values. She's been so emotionally stunted by numerous factors that she's never learned how to truly know her own mind or make her own choices about complex, nuanced subjects. Additionally, she hasn't been supported in her relationships to do that effectively. The primary value of sacrifice for the kingdom doesn't encourage self-exploration or self-knowledge. Is it more of a sacrifice to have a surrogate or try fertility treatments, or to pray and pine for the wanted but non-received baby? Might trying those methods go against God's will? I honestly don't think she knows how to reconcile her internal state with her external reality, leading to the chaos, confusion, and whining you mentioned. It's very annoying to watch, but I believe it stems from deep emotional brokenness. Not to mention the way her sister wives criticized her if she seemed to have the same or more resources than them. Can you imagine what Janelle would say about using money for Mary to have a baby, especially since she openly admitted to not caring about Mary's feelings or infertility while having her own babies? Or her comments about Mary's use of her budget, even after they started getting show money? Watching the juxtaposition of Mary's ability to organize and plan with her inability to make adult decisions is indeed confusing and annoying. So much of what confuses us as non-polygamist viewers makes perfect sense in their fundamentalist worldview. Not able to conceive? That's because God says so, and there is valor in suffering. Not able to conceive due to infertility or age? Well, your husband is allowed to stop having sex with you and is commanded to continue reproducing with younger wives. After all, sex is only for reproductive purposes. With all those early implanted thought-stopping phrases, you can see how Mary and Christine, Robyn, and to a slightly lesser degree Janelle, is arrested in her emotional development. When Mary whines and sounds like a 13-year-old girl, that response likely comes from that age. I do feel for Mary because her choice to follow Kody around like a wounded puppy was such self-sabotage. She needed real therapy to help her realize she was worthy of respect. In retrospect, I have a completely different view of the Mary situation, especially the IVF indecisiveness. We now know that their physical relationship was long over. Her wedding ring had been melted down. I think the IVF thing was purely a storyline they were playing for the cameras. There was never any real chance of them doing IVF under those circumstances. Circumstances we, as the audience, weren't privy to at the time. If my guess is correct, It's an incredibly cruel storyline to ask her to play out on television. It reminds me of the big house in Flagstaff that was also a made-up storyline. There was no way that house was ever going to be built. It was just something to film, with the bonus of making Christine look bad. I think the IVF storyline was the same type of thing for Mary. It was never real, it just made her look bad. The real tell is that, in the end, Kody wanted to do it, and Mary turned him down. That was total BS. Kody didn't want to do it, just like Robyn wasn't going to be a surrogate. All of that was for the cameras. In retrospect, the show put Mary in many situations to make her look whiny, greedy, or like the bad guy, but we didn't know the whole story. My guess is she went along with it all, hoping it might earn her some brownie points. I have a tremendous amount of sympathy for her. It seems she was manipulated by Kody and Robyn, and TLC set her up as the villain. Regarding her indecisiveness about the lots on Coyote Pass, I think it had more to do with her indecisiveness about remaining in the family at that point than with the lots themselves. The lots were a proxy. Assume Robyn married into the family, but there was never a TLC show. Do you really think Christine and Mary would have hung around as long as they did? Of course not. They hung around to keep the cash coming in. My main issue with the IVF and surrogacy storylines is that they were unrealistic, even if Mary and Kody did want them. At that time, they were still struggling financially. IVF is expensive and hard on the woman's body. Robyn's offer of surrogacy was cruel. There's no way a reputable surrogacy agency would have allowed Robyn to carry for many reasons. My two favorites are, 1. Robyn still wanted more kids, and 2. Their complicated family situation with both women involved with the same man. Wouldn't they need Mary's egg too? That means harvesting, which is similar to IVF and also expensive. I knew it was BS watching it and was annoyed when they kept bringing these things up as if they were feasible options. Mary's behavior might be due to something called learned helplessness. When everything you say is corrected, when you can't do anything right, and when you are taught to second-guess every decision, it's a form of abuse. Being helpless isn't a choice, it's a defense mechanism. I know because I experienced it. She was raised with a groupthink mentality and was incapable of making decisions for herself because her choices affected many others. Her life before the divorce was rarely about herself until the end. Mary wanted to do IVF. She wanted another baby. As someone who also faced fertility challenges, I understand the difficulties. But she didn't have a husband who was 100% on board. Of course, she was indecisive. IVF involves a lot of money, pain, and potential heart attack, with no guarantee of success. She wanted to please Kody and needed his full support, which she didn't get. Kody was frustrating because he wasn't clear with her for a long time. Knowing what we now know about the state of Kody and Mary's marriage before and after Robyn came in, I believe Mary couldn't fully communicate what she wanted. She was clear early on that she had made peace with having only one child, but Kody hounded her anyway. I think that was for the storyline. Mary said she would be happy if it happened naturally, without the stress of IVF. But we know that marital relations were not happening between her and Kody. I believe Mary wanted Kody to prioritize her, to care for her and place her first. She longed for his undivided attention to try for a baby, but she would never receive that from him. It seems to me that Kody viewed IVF as the perfect way to 1. Generate a storyline 2. Divert Mary's focus away from him and onto a baby, and 3. Create a hands-off method to produce a baby. Additionally, one aspect often overlooked is that Robyn wanted Mary to have a baby. We saw clearly how Kody's role in the move to Flagstaff was to sell the idea to the others. Robyn wanted it, and Kody promoted it. Robyn repeatedly expressed her desire to raise babies with her sister wives. She even encouraged her daughters to tell Mary they wanted her to have babies. Robyn's grand surrogacy offer was an attempt to coerce Mary into agreeing to prove her love and loyalty to Robyn. Kody persisted and pressured Mary, trapping her on camera. If she said no, she risked upsetting or injuring Robyn and damaging her relationship with Kody. Eventually, Kody made it clear he wanted more children, but not with Mary. Mary began to seem indecisive because no one listened or cared about her opinions. By season 4, she had already told Kody no to IVF twice, but no one paid attention. Kody got Leon to guilt-trip her about having another sibling, and then Robyn made her offer. Christine and Robyn also kept joking about Mary not pulling her weight. If they had just listened to her the first 2 times and stopped bringing it up, there wouldn't have been an issue. Another example is when they went to buy furniture. Mary had a set she loved, but Kody and the others bulldozed her into getting the unattractive striped furniture. The Flagstaff property situation was ridiculous because it wasn't like she had a choice. Janelle and Christine claimed the land they wanted without considering anyone else's preferences, leaving Mary with the undesirable plot by the pond and trees. Everyone, including viewers, blew that completely out of proportion. Given how often Mary's opinions were disregarded, I don't blame her for eventually keeping quiet and saying, "I don't know." When she did speak up, she was either ignored or criticized. I feel a lot of sympathy for Mary. I understand that the fans of Christine and Janelle often use her as a scapegoat, but imagine growing up in a community where your entire worth is based on your ability to have children, and then struggling to conceive while the new wife gets pregnant almost immediately. After finally having one child, you watch the other 2 wives have children easily, and then they all joke about you not pulling your weight because you only have one child. I'm just glad Mary finally found the strength to tell Kody to get lost. I hope she enjoys not having to share her financial resources with those who mock her and accuse her of abuse simply for being the parent who set boundaries. She once said she felt damned if she made a decision and damned if she didn't. That whole land dispute was orchestrated by Kody in front of the wives. Later in that same episode, the truth came out, but Christine and Janelle weren't there to see it. One of the podcasts I followed just covered that episode in Mexico yesterday. They were questioning why Kody kept bringing up IVF to Mary and speculated that it might be a way to continually highlight Robyn's great surrogacy sacrifice and keep the spotlight on her. I hadn't considered that before, but it makes sense. I believe Mary knew exactly what she wanted, not to have another baby anymore. She might have once dreamed of having a large family to help her and Kody reach the next level in the afterlife. But when it was just her and Mariah, and she got to mother the other children only when she wanted to, that had its perks. She kept her part of the house clean, tidy, and orderly. I think she was scared of disappointing Kody by admitting she had come to terms with her infertility. What I found truly suspicious about the whole infertility conversation, starting with Robyn's offer to use her womb for Mary, was that it seemed insincere. Mary never really responded, and then the focus shifted to IVF, seeing a doctor, and wanting a second opinion, which never happened anyway. They only visited one doctor and that was it. Jump to the Mexico trip, where Kody gives Mary a deadline to make a decision, a completely ridiculous move. Then there's that awkward picnic on a rocky hill, symbolic for sure, where it almost feels like Mary was going to say yes. The whole setup was supposedly about Mary's decision, but Kody unilaterally decides it's not going to happen. So the entire storyline was just that, a story. I don't believe either of them were seriously considering this as an option. Why wait until their one and only child is 18 and leaving home to decide that? It's too late for that to be a viable plan. But yes, Mary appears indecisive. Then, after Kody decides for her, she talks about wanting to pursue tests or see doctors. Seriously? In Mary's defense, this seemed to be during the period when her hormonal mood swings due to perimenopause were at their peak. I was annoyed at the time because I hadn't experienced it yet, but on rewatching years later, after going through it myself, I have a lot of sympathy for her. I thought my mood swings as a teenager were bad. My early 40s were even worse. If I wasn't angry for no reason and irritated at myself because I knew there was no reason. My feelings were easily hurt over things that never bothered me before or after. Context matters. Mary was extremely sheltered growing up. She was homeschooled within a small religious cult, and her dad had 5 wives. Of course, she is emotionally immature. Then she marries Kody at age 19, and her ex-sister-in-law has an affair with her husband in the next room in a tiny trailer, and so on. The family alliance rallied against Mary and isolated her, eventually rendering her mute. She told Kody no in Mexico because she didn't want to suffer any more disappointment. But then her infertility was used as a storyline repeatedly. In their culture, she is viewed as less than. Even Peyton says it's punishment from God that she could not reproduce. You would be annoying AF too. Knowing Kody had checked out of the marriage by that point, but Mary couldn't say so on camera, I fully understand why she was indecisive. What she wanted was for Kody to commit to her and make promises about their future together. All Kody was interested in was building his celestial kingdom and using her as a vessel for his breeding fetish. Has no one else ever been indecisive about having another child? My husband and I went back and forth on this issue. I wanted another child, but his work was tough. Then I felt good about it, but we lost a family member, and my husband thought he wanted another. By then, I was older and unsure if I wanted to start over, though I would have loved another child. We also seriously considered the financial aspect, thinking clearly about the cost of putting our kids through college and needing to save hundreds of thousands for each child. Why are so many people on the subreddit so flippant about this? Having a child and caring for them properly is a huge deal. When someone's opinions don't hold any weight because they've been practically excommunicated from their family, but they keep clinging to Kody's fishing pole for dear life because it's all they know, they tend to keep their head down and not express their opinions. It's like when Christine said, "I will go to family gatherings and just feel like a second-class citizen." Imagine how Mary must feel. How awkward it must have been for her, knowing she was once the first wife, and now she's just a number. Kody thinks she's stuck with him for eternity. Sorry, but I'd rather my soul be burned in a furnace than spend eternity with Kody. Just saying. No way would Adonai punish me for a mistake I made marrying a loser in my 20s. That's why we ask for forgiveness and move on.